We've got a lot to go over in this video. There's some free DLC available right now over at the PlayStation Store. A Ghost of Tsushima dev has revealed the studio's ambitious goal and lofty expectations in making the world. The next title in the Doom franchise, Doom Eternal, has been dated for a gameplay reveal. It is finally seeing some gameplay. While it was announced at E3, we didn't see much of it. We're finally gonna see some in-game content very soon. While Visceral Studios closed down, creative director of Dead Space Ben Wanat spoke on what they had planned for Dead Space 4. Unfortunately, that never came to fruition, but it's still interesting nonetheless. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is getting a private beta very soon, and then I'll be rounding the video out by taking a look at a couple of good game deals. First, let's go over some free DLC. EA is continuing to give away the Battlefield 1 DLC content, and right now you can check out Battlefield 1 Turning Tides absolutely free. This is the third expansion pack for Battlefield 1, and it includes 4 new multiplayer maps and 6 new unlockable weapons and more. EA has already given out Battlefield 1's previous 2 DLC, so it's cool to see them continuing to give out free DLC content for BF1. Of course, with the next Battlefield title, although DLC content is going to be free, and it looks like EA is trying really hard to get back into the good graces of gamers, and hey, I'm all for that. If you want to do pro-consumer things, you want to give away free DLC, I am not going to complain about that. The more EA does to get into the good graces of gamers is better, and this is a DLC that just released earlier this year. It's not like this is a DLC pack that's super old, so nice of EA to give this out. Yes, they aren't everybody's favorite publishers, but it looks like they are doing the right things with Battlefield 5, and with them giving out Battlefield 1 DLC, can you really complain about that? Even if you don't have Battlefield 1, just add it to your cart and add it to your library, so if you do ever pick up Battlefield 1, you will have the DLC ready to go. Moving on from that, Ghost of Tsushima has quickly become one of, if not the most anticipated PlayStation 4 exclusives. I don't think that is hyperbole in saying that. While I know a lot of you guys are excited for games like Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, Spider-Man, after the incredible showing at E3, I think Ghost of Tsushima took a lot of gamers by surprise. I was expecting big things because it's Sucker Punch, it's a brand new IP, and just about every new PlayStation 4 exclusive this gen has been really good, and with a studio like Sucker Punch behind it, it was gonna be really good. Well, art director of the game, Jason Connell, spoke to Games TM magazine and shared a little bit on the studio's attempt in creating a living world. Here's what he said: having everything move, if it can move, make it move, was a very ambitious goal for us from the very beginning, and we're achieving it. If you walk around the game world and you'll be like, oh my god, everything around me is moving. While it's a small statement, I think that statement says a lot, because that is one of the major issues with open world games. It just feels like an unlively open world game. Yes, there's a lot of content to it, but it doesn't feel like a lot of content matters, and it doesn't feel like the world is an actual world. With Ghost of Tsushima, seeing the game in motion, it seemed like an actual world. It seemed like everything is moving, and it seemed like you were actually being absorbed into this world. Now, I didn't play the game, but just seeing the game in action, I feel like that's what we're getting. Ghost of Tsushima is yet another marquee PlayStation 4 exclusive. While we don't have an official release date or even a release window for it, a lot of us are presuming it's a 2019 game, but it hasn't been confirmed for 2019. However, I do think we'll see the game out before 2019's end, and it has quickly become my personal most anticipated PS4 exclusive, ahead of The Last of Us Part 2, ahead of Death Stranding, and ahead of Spider-Man even. I am really expecting big things from Ghost of Tsushima, and even with the anticipation that's there now, I think a lot of gamers are going to be surprised at just how good this game is. Moving on from that, another game that had a showing at E3 but not as big of a showing as Ghost of Tsushima was Doom Eternal. Yes, the next Doom title was announced, but all we got was a CG trailer that didn't give us much of an idea of what the game was, outside of the fact that it's Doom. But we will be seeing more Doom Eternal gameplay, and that will be shown off in a live stream on Friday, August 10th. It'll be streamed live from QuakeCon, which takes place August 9th through the 12th. The Doom Eternal worldwide gameplay reveal live stream on August 10th, live from QuakeCon 2018. If you didn't play the 2016 2017 Doom game, you're doing yourself a grave disservice. That game was fantastic, a great single-player first-person shooter with a multiplayer component in there as well that was okay, but honestly, that single-player was why that game was so good. It was fast, it was visceral, and it was just a lot of fun, so excited to see what Doom Eternal will be all about on August 10th. I just said the word visceral a second ago, and that brings me to my next topic, Dead Space 4 and what Visceral Studios had planned for it before it closed down. Creative director of Dead Space spoke in an exclusive interview with Eurogamer on what he wanted out of Dead Space 4. Obviously, that never came to reality because of the lack of Dead Space 3's success, and EA put the studio to work elsewhere. They did Battlefield Hardline, and Dead Space was never seen from again, and now the studio is closed. But here's what Ben Wenat wanted from Dead Space 4. Quote, "The notion was you were trying to survive day to day against infested ships, searching for a glimmer of life, scavenging supplies to keep your own little ship going, trying to find survivors. We would have finessed a lot of existing mechanics. The Flotilla section in Dead Space 3 hinted at what non-linear gameplay would be, and I would have loved to go deeper into that. You'd start to form a picture of what happened in that region while fighting through scores of necromorphs from ship to ship, and you'd learn a new critical bit of plot info along with the means to shock to a couple of nearby sectors. The ships you would visit are where the game would get really diverse. The Ishimura had some inkling of that diversity with the variously themed decks, but imagine an entire roster of ship types, each with unique purposes, floor plans, and gameplay. Our original prototypes for the Dead Space 3 Flotilla had some pretty wild setups that I wish we had been able to use." He says a lot more, so we'll leave a link to a great article in the description box down below. I'm upset that Dead Space 4 never came to fruition, but we also have to say that Dead Space 3 wasn't all too great of a game compared to Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 1. It was an okay game, but Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 1 were so much better games, and Dead Space 3 did drop the ball a little bit. It's sad that Visceral closed down, but at this point it is what it is. It's cool to see that they did have plans for Dead Space 4, but that'll probably never come to pass. Moving on from that, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is having a private multiplayer beta starting on August 3rd. Now, this is a private multiplayer beta, so this will be open to those of you that pre-order the game, and they tout the private multiplayer beta will give the public a hands-on opportunity to enjoy grounded combat, fluid gameplay, our Pick 10 system, new gear and loadouts, as well as explosive tactical play. And that's just scratching the surface. To better prepare you, here's some intel that should come in handy, and we'll leave a link to the PlayStation blog post in the description box down below. It goes over everything to expect in the private multiplayer beta. Now, of course, the blackout mode will not be a part of this private beta, but still, if you do want to check out the multiplayer gameplay, if you pre-order the game, you can get access to the private multiplayer beta. And obviously, if you do pre-order the game, say from a retailer like Amazon, if the private multiplayer beta doesn't win you over, you could always cancel your pre-order. So remember that that is an option. Although obviously I am not condoning pre-ordering a game, getting the beta, and then having the idea to cancel the pre-order anyway, I would never do something dastardly like that.
Slow the game pace down a little bit, create decision making in that loop with the healing as its own mechanic now. The fog of war changes in a lot more.
Right, so you talked about customization. So the Pick 10 returns. Can you tell us how it's changing and how it's staying the same in Black Ops 4?
Yeah, so there's a couple at the highest level. The main change is that every weapon, right, is if you play a lot of Call of Duty, you would know that like every assault rifle pretty much has the same attachments across the base. So one change is that every single weapon is its own little character or brand, or we say snowflake. And it makes it like this kind of unique element of it to itself, right? It's like, this is the rifle that is good for, say, long range. So no other rifle can ever be as good at that.
Alright, moving on, and lastly, I want to go over some great PlayStation 4 game deals. Amazon has got Dissidia Final Fantasy NT Steelbook Brawler Edition down to $24.99. This edition isn't anything special, just has a nice steelbook to it. You get the same game, and you do get a couple of trading cards. Dissidia Final Fantasy NT was a game that really disappointed me personally, and that was because I was such a big fan of the two Dissidia games on the PSP. This one's a little bit different, doesn't really have a quality single-player mode, more focused on team team-based battles and wasn't really my cup of tea. The Dissidia games on PSP were just so good. This one, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, there is some fan service there. You can have some fun with it, but it definitely wasn't worth the $59.99 retail price. Now down to $24.99, it's a far more palatable price point. Also, Stardew Valley Collector's Edition is available for $12.88 over at Walmart. That's a great deal on Stardew Valley, a game that you can sink so many hours into, and it is a physical copy of Stardew Valley, so that is quite nice. Has some bonus content, including a town map, a mini guidebook, as well as a soundtrack with this Collector's Edition. And lastly, a little bit of a hidden deal. Over on Amazon, you can get Deus Ex Mankind Divided, the Collector's Edition, for $30.85. Now, you might be asking, why am I dropping $30 on Deus Ex Mankind Divided? You can regularly find this game for $10. Well, with the Collector's Edition, you actually get a 9-inch Adam Jensen figurine, a 48-page art book, a limited edition steel book, a lot of in-game content, and an exclusive black and gold Prism box. All of that for just $30 on top of the base game. I would say that's a pretty good deal. So if you want, that's available on Amazon for $30.85. Links to all of these will be in the description box below. And that is going to conclude this video. Free DLC for Battlefield 1 is available right now. Turning Tides, that you can get on the PlayStation Store. Ghost of Tsushima looks to be an ever-moving world, and that world that they're creating looks to be very ambitious. Doom Eternal is getting its gameplay reveal on August 10th. Visceral did have plans for Dead Space 4. Unfortunately, that never came to pass. Black Ops 4 is getting a private multiplayer beta on August 3rd, and check out all of those game deals. Dissidia Final Fantasy NT for $24.99, Stardew Valley Collector's Edition for $12.88, and Deus Ex Mankind Divided Collector's Edition for $30.85. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.